Let's talk about a piece of medical tech that's so common now, we almost take it for granted, the ultrasound. But believe me, the story of how we got from a fuzzy, confusing flicker on a screen to the incredible 3D images we see today, well, it's an amazing tale of pure, relentless innovation. So where does a story like that even begin? It all boils down to this one huge question that doctors and scientists were obsessed with for decades. How in the world do you see inside the human body without having to cut someone open? That single, simple challenge, that was the spark for everything. In the very beginning, the answer they came up with was, well, pretty primitive. The earliest machines just showed these little dots of light or blips on a screen. Sure, you could get some basic measurements, but you were pretty much flying blind, just trying to guess what these abstract dots even meant. It wasn't really a picture at all. And this brings us to the first big step forward in our story. We're entering the era of what was called bistable imaging. This was really the first serious attempt to turn all those random blips into something you could actually recognize. So what on earth is a bistable image? Okay, think of it like a light switch. It's either on or it's off. There's no dimmer. So an echo coming back to the machine was either strong enough to make a white dot on the screen, or it wasn't. That's it. The result? You could kind of see the outline of an organ, a silhouette, but you had absolutely no idea what was going on inside of it. And of course, doctors knew all the important stuff was in the details they just couldn't see yet.
So how do you go about filling in that silhouette? The answer to that question, well, it would kick off the first real revolution in ultrasound, the incredible power of adding shades of gray.
I mean, the problem was staring them right in the face. These old bistable images were basically just blueprints. And blueprints are great if you're building a house, but for diagnosing a patient, you need to see the materials, the actual texture of the tissue. Is that lump solid? Is it filled with fluid? That's the kind of information that saves lives, and the race was on to figure out how to see it. And the breakthrough came from this incredible piece of tech, the scan converter. It was hailed at the time as a profound invention, and it really was the missing piece of the puzzle. For the very first time, here was a device that could take all those different echoes, the weak ones, the strong ones, the ones in between, and assign each and every one a different shade of gray on a normal TV screen. And this right here shows you just how gigantic that leap was. We literally went from a simple, flat blueprint to a rich, detailed photograph. All of a sudden, the internal texture of organs just popped into view. It was like going from a simple line drawing to a detailed charcoal sketch. It opened up a whole new universe of possibilities for doctors. And you know, this wasn't just some minor improvement. When George Kossoff and his team down in Australia showed off their new grayscale system back in 1973, the reaction from the medical world was just immediate. The change was, in their own words, truly dramatic. The revolution had officially begun. All right, so now we have a detailed picture. That's amazing, but it was still just a snapshot, a photo frozen in time. The next great challenge was obvious. They had to make that picture move. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. What if you could actually watch a heart valve fluttering open and closed in real time, or see a baby kicking inside the womb? The new goal was to turn the static photograph of ultrasound into a living, breathing movie. And man, as you can see from this timeline, once the race for real time started, things accelerated like crazy. It began with these clunky mechanical scanners in the mid-60s that could churn out maybe 15 frames a second. But then, by the early 70s, you had electronic arrays that got rid of all the moving parts, and from there, the pace of innovation just exploded. It was a wild time. You know, I just love this quote from one of the pioneers, Tony Whittingham. It perfectly captures that spirit of invention, doesn't it? These folks were working right on the edge of what was possible, not even sure their ideas were going to pan out. They just hoped it would work. But as he says, it did work. And boy, did it ever. It changed everything. Okay, so now we've got detail and we've got motion. What else is there left to see? Well, the next breakthrough was going to reveal something that's normally completely invisible to us, the actual flow of blood inside our bodies. This was all possible because of something called the Doppler principle. You've experienced this a million times. It's the reason an ambulance siren sounds higher pitched as it's racing towards you and then lower as it moves away. Well, by sending sound waves into the body and listening to how the frequency of those echoes changes, doctors could actually measure the speed and direction of moving red blood cells. Just incredible.
And the way Doppler imaging evolved is just a story in itself. It started with these really simple audio devices that would just let you hear blood flow, like a fetal heartbeat. Then in 1974, duplex Doppler came along, which combined that sound with the grayscale picture, so you could finally see the vessel you were listening to. And then came the final masterpiece in 1985, color Doppler. This technique, pioneered by engineers in Japan, literally painted the blood flow with color right onto the image, creating this beautiful, easy-to-read map of our entire circulation. All of these advances were mind-blowing, but the machines themselves were often these massive, complicated, and super expensive beasts. The final piece of the puzzle, the one that would really bring ultrasound to every hospital and clinic, came from the same technology that was changing the rest of the world, the digital revolution. See, before the digital age, everything relied on analog converters, and they were just flaky. The images could get distorted, they weren't always uniform, and you could only store a single image at a time. Going digital? Oh, that changed the entire game. All of a sudden, images were rock solid and consistent, and you could store them, you could enhance them, you could process them in ways that were just science fiction a few years earlier. But the real hero of this chapter, without a doubt, was the microprocessor. That one little tip basically put the power of a room-sized computer into a tiny little package. Machines that were once described as being the size of kitchen cabinets could suddenly become portable. This massive boost in computing power is what made all those complex calculations for things like real-time color Doppler possible. And, crucially, it made the machines cheaper, making this life-saving tech available to pretty much everyone everywhere. And with that, the court journey was pretty much complete. I mean, think about that arc. In just a couple of decades, ultrasound went from these abstract, confusing blips on a screen to detailed still photographs, and finally to living, moving pictures that were literally painted with the colors of life itself. What an incredible transformation. The pace of change here has just been absolutely breathtaking. Many of the original pioneers who worked on those first blurry outlines got to see their invention evolve into the 3D and 4D color images we have today, all within their own lifetime. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As technology keeps getting smaller, smarter, and more powerful, what unseen world will the next great leap in ultrasound reveal to us?